Good evening. Board President, Mr. McDonald, has contacted me, and he was stuck in traffic coming out of Columbus this evening. He will be here momentarily, but at this time, I'm going to go ahead and ask Mr. Moore, our Vice President, to go ahead and begin the meeting.
Okay. Welcome to the November 17th special meeting. Roll call, please, Brenda.
Mr. McDonald, absent. Mr. Moore,
Here.
Ms. Harless,
Here.
Dr. Morris,
Here.
Ms. Smith.
Here.
Okay, now we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you stand, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item is approval of the agenda. I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Dr. Morris.
Yes.
Ms. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. Next thing is approval of the minutes. I'll need a motion and a second.
So moved. So moved.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Harless,
Yes.
Dr. Morris.
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Ms. Smith.
Yes.
Okay, public participation, we have no one signed in for that, so we will go on to executive session. I do need a motion and a second to go to that.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Harless,
Yes.
Dr. Morris,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. We will be going into executive session. We will be coming back, so I don't know how long this will take, but we will be back to move on with our business.
All right, I need a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second?
Dr. Morris?
Yes.
Ms. Harless?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes. Now we'll move on, no old business, move on to the consent agenda.
I would like to recommend that we modify the agenda by adding item B in new business, the title of COVID bonus, with the language, Ms. Hill, as follows: all current regular employees of the Jackson City School District employed as of November 17th, 2021, and who are not covered by the terms of the JCEA collective bargaining agreement will receive a one-time COVID bonus of 2.5%. The amount of the bonus will be based on the employee's current rate of pay, not including the RPS, for their regularly scheduled hours in their primary position with the district. The payment of this bonus is delegated to the superintendent. So that will be item B. Also like to add item C in new business, to ask the board to go ahead and approve substitute teacher pay for anyone with less than a 4-year degree at $100 a day. If you remember the last board meeting, you approved a resolution that allows me to set a standard for substitute teachers. We still have in place anyone who has a 4-year degree. Those people will be getting, I don't remember what we changed that to, 125 a day, I think, and it was 135 if you were a retiree of the Jackson City Schools. That will still remain in effect. This will come into play for anyone who has less than a 4-year degree. So I plan on, in the next few days, putting out what our criteria is going to be. Right now, I think we're going to be opening it up to anyone who has a high school diploma. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to hire everybody that has a high school diploma, but those people would be eligible to apply. Of course, they'll still have to pass the background check and so forth. So, and then if they're selected and if they sub, they would be compensated at $100 a day. So if we could add that to item C.
Okay, we need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Dr. Morris?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Okay, we'll go ahead and begin with the consent agenda. It's recommended that the board approve the consent agenda as follows. Item A, to accept the resignation of Secretary Melody Walker, effective January 31st. Item B is a recommendation to employ Waylon Massey for the Fieldhouse Supervisor position and Keith Wilson as the Glee Club Advisor. Item C is a recommendation to employ Brittany Potter as an 047 classified employee. Item D is a recommendation to employ Robin Leach as a Site Director for Latchkey. Item E is a recommendation to approve Jonathan Finch as a volunteer in the athletic department. Item F, recommendation to approve scheduling a meeting of our board for Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. This meeting we will start our Records Commission meeting at 6:45. The organizational meeting will be held at 7 o'clock, and then our regular January meeting will follow that. And Mr. McDonald will preside over the meeting until president has been selected. And I believe that concludes the consent agenda.
Are there any items need removed for separate consideration? If not, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Harless?
Yes.
Dr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes. Now we'll move on to the new business.
In the new business, item A, recommend that the board appoint Brian Moore to serve as the representative on the Gallia-Jackson-Vinton Joint Vocational Board of Education for a new 3-year term beginning January 1, 2022. I know he really enjoys being on there, and I think you guys have made a good choice in putting him on there. I'm assuming, I didn't ask you, that you still
Absolutely.
want to
Yes.
continue that.
Yes.
All right. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Dr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Abstain.
Ms. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Okay, then item B, as I just mentioned, ask that the board approve that all current employees of the Jackson City School District employed as of November 17th, 2021, who are not covered under the terms of the JCEA collective bargaining agreement will receive a one-time COVID bonus of 2.5%. The amount of the bonus will be based on the employee's current rate of pay, not including the RPS, for their regularly scheduled hours in their primary position with the district. And the payment of this bonus would be delegated to the superintendent.
All right. Need a motion to approve?
I'll make
So
the motion.
moved.
Second.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Dr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Item C, recommend that the board approve substitute teacher pay for anyone with less than a 4-year degree at a rate of $100 per day.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Morris?
Yes.
Ms. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
And that concludes the new business.
Okay. We'll move on to the financial report. Ms. Hill?
On the financial report, I'll do my best to make it brief. I have a one-page thing here that kind of summarizes the forecast that we're going to file. The deadline's November 30th. You got yours, Bill? Need one? I got mine.
Thank you.
I got one left. Tyler, if you and Joe wants to share it, you're welcome to. Forecast does look better than the one that was filed May 2021. And within that, if you look down below the bar graph, and you look at our beginning balance, you can see the beginning balance from 2022 through 2026. 2022 is actual. And then the rest of the years are projected. If we look at our revenue over expenditures, you can see in 22 where we have really a balanced budget in 22 and in fiscal 23. But in 24, 25, and 26, we start sliding. And we go, our expenditures exceeding revenue. Part of that is what has happened in the forecast if we have used ESSER money and we are paying 18 teachers that would have been general fund expenditures we're paying in ESSER, and we're also paying
I think it's important to point out today, Ms. Hill and I were looking at some previous 5-year forecasts and at, in particular, actual years that have already occurred. We looked back, and in 2014, I believe it was, since 2014, we're only getting about $100,000 more in revenue from the state of Ohio than what we were getting in 2014. Now, property tax revenue is up more than that, so that's helped us some. I think all of our revenue streams was about a plus $2 million since 2014, but yet our expenditures are at about $6.5 million more than they were in 2014. So that's kind of what we're up against.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, if not, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Harless,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Dr. Morris,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes. Information and discussion, Mr. Howard.
Just one thing, at the last board meeting, I spoke briefly about this required full-scale crisis drill that is mandated upon us by Homeland Security. And I don't know what happened after that, but apparently some people didn't exactly listen to what I said because it was all over social media. They had the date wrong and everything, that we were going to have it this past Monday, and Mr. Schwackhammer had to send out a message to make sure that people knew it wasn't happening this week. But that event is coming up. We have had a lot of people that have reached out concerned about, inflicting trauma on some of our students that are involved in this. I've got some mixed emotions. I mean, we do have to be prepared. We don't ever want to have anyone say if something would happen that we weren't totally prepared. But at the same point in time, we understand that we do have some kids who have some mental health issues that this could be a problem for. So we have discussed and looked back at the qualifications and the requirements and come up with a plan that we think will serve the purpose that we need and allow us to be able to check the boxes but still be able to have the drill. I'm going to let Mr. Schwackhammer talk to you a little bit about it here. So if you want you come up here where we can.
So we heard from a lot of different people reaching out in response to what we communicated last week. There was a lot of concern, like Mr. Howard said, regarding mental health of our staff and students. That obviously is in the forefront. If you're in the school, you see that a lot, okay? A lot more frequently than it has been. So we've decided to scale that drill back in regards to the involvement of our staff and students. That is going to be more of a I guess, a traditional training exercise for our law enforcement and our first responders, but it is an educational drill for our staff and students. Our staff and students will not be subject to trauma, physical violence, any simulations, but they will be walked through a drill from an educational standpoint. So our staff and students are informed, but yet our outside agencies can conduct, the training that they need to conduct. The staff and students will be informed prior to the drill. I'm going to send an all-call out on Friday to the Jackson High School staff, and a separate one is going to be sent out to the rest of the district because each building is going to be a little bit different in regards to the response of the drill. But the staff and students in our building, it will be the main location of the drill, will be notified, and then we will meet face-to-face on the morning that it is to happen, go through what the staff and students will see to hopefully, give them some information, put their minds at ease, and then we can conduct the drill after the fact.
Let me just clarify that the full-scale exercise will involve the students and staff here at Jackson High School. The other buildings will simply be a lockdown drill, which they do all the time. So that shouldn't be anything new or unique to any of those other 4 buildings. It'll be different here at the high school, but not for our elementary and our middle school students.
And in saying that, the overall impact to our staff and students, though may be a longer length of time because of the involvement of all of our outside agencies, should be no more of a traumatic impact to our staff and students than a typical fire drill, tornado drill, lockdown drill. Does anybody have any questions regarding any of the plan?
Having worked on the EMS for so many years, and having seen some horrific scenes, don't you believe that maybe students at the high school should see something like this? Should see a car that has been mangled because of some poor decisions they made? Shouldn't they see some of their friends all moulaged up with fake blood and sticks and grass and mud all over them, to see what poor decisions can do to them? Maybe what looks like they can be fixed up to look like broken bones. I remember some of the scenes that happened down at the old high school, down on the old football field. We had to stop doing them down there because Coach Reynolds, Jim Reynolds' son Chad, was in one of the scenes, and it upset Coach Reynolds so bad he had to leave because he saw what would happen to his son because of a poor decision.
Sure.
Do you think this would maybe, I need to think before I go out and do some of this crazy stuff we do every weekend?
I would say this, that there are probably some students that would benefit from such an exercise, but the times that we're living in right now, there are far more students than ever that have social, emotional, mental health issues. And for us, it's impossible to be able to separate the two. So unfortunately, we're going to have to try to err on the side of making sure that we don't cause more distress amongst those who already have some types of issues. I mean, I remember back, I know exactly what you're talking about. When I was in school, we brought in the car right before the prom, and you had it parked right out front, and there was, the dummies hanging out of the car and so forth. But unfortunately, we have so many students now who have had trauma in their lives that seeing those kind of sights can cause additional harm. So that's kind of where we're at.
How are we going to help these students that have these social and emotional issues? How are we helping them?
Well, most of them that we're aware of are undergoing counseling, either here at school or after school.
Okay, all right, thank you. I appreciate that.
A couple of years ago, Mr. McDonald and I took part in one of these drills. It was very interesting. It was informative. It was really nice to see. I don't remember what room you were in, but I was locked into a room with some teachers and students, like I was one of the students, and you could hear, police and the sheriff's department working together, working in tandem. We can't forget how important it is to have our law enforcement prepared on our campuses, making sure our equipment works, making sure that they can function. There's cameras all over these buildings. And when we were part of that drill, they had a headquarters set up. They were controlling the cameras. And if you had an active shooter situation and you have a student got caught in a room or something's running down the hall, and you have law enforcement coming into the building, they can see that student on the cameras say, hey, coming down the hall, you've got a kid coming through there, so that something bad doesn't happen to them. But if you don't practice this stuff, you can't perform when the time comes. So I'm for the drill. Like I said, we took part in one. It was very informative. It's great practice for them. in favor.
And that's what I was gonna say, if you don't practice them, I mean, we did that in my career, we practiced that, we had those, exercise, those scenarios, and you have to do it, because you're gonna react the way you're trained, the way you practice these things, so I think that.
But none of us were involved to a point that it was
No.
traumatic or scary. You knew what they were doing. You knew they were going through the motions and working together to make sure everything was together if it needed to be. But I didn't feel like anybody then, a couple of years ago,
No.
were subjected to anything that was going to be traumatic
I
or
didn't
stick
either.
with them afterwards.
And they do need the education, they do need the
Yes.
explanation, they do need the understanding of the drill. I think that's very important, because they're gonna react also the way that they're either trained, or it's explained, or what level or degree that they're involved in it.
And I do want to add too that as part of the drill, we have invited local mental health agencies to be present and on hand in the event that someone would experience, a reaction to the simulations. So they will be here to provide supports for anyone that may need it, staff or students.
Have you changed the date of this event?
We have not changed the date from what
The
Mr.
time
Howard,
to start it is,
9 o'clock.
that's Monday, the 22nd at 9 o'clock.
That's correct.
Going to have coffee ready for us who are, right?
There'll be coffee in the office.
Thank you very
I
much
don't need it in
for,
the office. I need it where the scene of the incident is, right?
thank you for your update. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
It's a lot
thank
of
you.
work.
Yep.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay, any closing items from board members?
I just want to holler out about the football team. Had a great year and, 13 games. And I enjoy going to Friday night football. I've been doing this forever. And watching the band, we got the greatest band ever. It is so fun in the fall on Friday night. And very proud of them. Play 13 games. When you're 2-2, you don't think you're going to play 13. And we did. We have a fine team, a fine coaching staff, the greatest band ever, great cheerleaders. It's
And-
good.
And a great media team. I
Oh,
don't know
nice.
if you guys saw,
Great media team.
if you saw the email that I sent you that had the number of people
Yeah.
that actually watched our video or watched the live stream and where those came from. And there were people in, I believe, 42
Yes,
states
42 states.
8 countries.
and 8 countries.
Germany and.
Yeah,
I
8
wondered if
countries.
any of the national networks had contacted you. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you guys to do something, and it's probably going to upset you, but I would like for you guys to come up front,
So people
because
can
you're
see.
always running the camera behind the
Right.
scenes. I did a real quick Facebook Live that night, guys, and it was amazing, the comments and stuff I got, and thank yous of showing what they actually, the stuff that they went through. So if you can come up front, we'd like to.
You blew up the
Thank you
Facebook,
personally.
buddy.
I'll
Go on.
I'll get the media team
Yes.
itself
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
here.
Don't break that.
But these
Don't break
guys
it.
are always behind the scenes, and
I
they
hear you.
never get, they never get
Never get
recognized, so,
publicly.
We'll get the
say-
media team in with Mr. Rippeth and
yeah.
Yes, that would be fantastic.
But thank you, guys.
Get on camera.
I'm getting really nervous because Mr. Schwackhammer and Mr. Hamsley over there with the technology stuff.
Joe's over there thinking it's a ColecoVision.
Yeah,
Thank you guys
very
so much for everything.
Yeah,
And
not
another
just
person
one
we should
season.
recognize is our athletic director for that award he got
Yes.
this week in Columbus.
That was for 2020, wasn't that?
Yeah.
Yeah, since they didn't get to hold a banquet, so
Yeah.
we've got all kinds of all-stars here. We
Yeah.
just
Yeah, Hall of
We need
Famers
to
and all
put them out there a
districts.
little more.
and,
Yep.
and, the IT or the tech guys, Riley and Steve and the crew, working with, Mr. Rippeth and the kids, be able to work together like that and make things happen like that, that's awesome, too.
Usually I don't really recognize the kids' names very often, but the media kids, I know them all by their first name. And
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
first name.
And those girls, the comments, oh my gosh, they did a good job.
They did, yeah.
They did a good job.
That's all I had.
Yep, thank
All
you.
right. Any, there's no other items there, then I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
We're done.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Ms. Harlot,
Yes?
Dr. Morris.
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Da, 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 da.